Hello, gorgeous Alarna. How are you?
I'm good, Kirsten. It's so good to be with you again. So good to see you.
Oh, it always feels like a big, safe, warm hug when I speak to you about life and happenings and all the things that we're always grappling with. And I think that that is
Fine.
part of your gift when you work with clients, but it's definitely part of your gift in friendship and sharing yourself with everyone
Thank
as well.
you.
So
Appreciate it.
the other day I was just saying to Alana that I pulled a card for Cass before we started recording our episode that you would have heard quite a few weeks ago. And she suggested that like why don't you do that for every guest that comes on to kind of like be guided and set the flow for the conversation that will unfold because kind of made a commitment here this year to
Yep.
not overly plan our conversations and just to see what comes through. So now I'm sitting in your energy and we're here together. Let's see what we're being guided to do. All right, divine timing.
Oh, I love it.
What's your take on that?
Okay. Um, from my perspective, I this year have had so much happen in such a short period of time, that honestly it has been pretty stressful, and I've had to use every tool that I've learned to sort of stay sane and grounded. But at
Mm.
the same time, I also had this feeling like everything is happening in divine timing, even though it's all sort of happening at once. And it was, it has been and still is really a lot of forward momentum this year. I do feel like there's a flow, and that things that I've been wanting to happen for a long time and sort of felt stalled or felt stuck, or for whatever reason when I tried to make a move it didn't flow, didn't work. It's like now the time is right and now it's happening. So
Oh, I
that
love
for me,
that for you.
yeah, it certainly speaks to my year so far.
Yeah, interesting. It's
Yeah.
not it's kind of nice when you do get in that flow and when you are experiencing the divine timing actually unfold.
Yes, yes. Because I think sometimes, when we have desires and we have things that we want to achieve or we want to experience, if there's a feeling like it's not happening.
Mm.
I'm doing everything that I can, and it just doesn't feel like it's happening. It's so easy to doubt. Is it ever going to happen? Is there such a thing as divine timing? Or have I just been sort of forgotten about? Or have I done something, maybe it's not for me after all? Like all those sort of thoughts can come through your mind. And so I think, just sort of sinking into that trust that yes, you do your part, but also um, there's a bigger picture at play, and we can't see that bigger picture. So we need to trust to move with our intuition as well.
Mm.
Um, and to seek that flow. And sometimes the flow is not flowing. And so it's like, okay, well, maybe now there's something that I still need to process. There's something I still need to learn. And can I be okay with the fact that right now maybe things aren't the way that I want them to be? And
Mm.
maybe that's okay.
I I feel that so deeply because I think that your experience of divine timing right now is often the brighter side of that concept, of that
Mm.
energetic concept. And what you've highlighted there is kind of the energy and the experience of timing that I've been sitting in, I'm gonna say for like over a year now. And I say
Mhm.
that because I have an amazing guy that I know, and he's a shaman, and he reflected back to me. It's so, like over a year ago now, he reflected back to me that I had built a lot of stuff in on my path and in my purpose and all that kind of stuff. Like I'd built a lot of stuff. And it looked like all these rocket ships that were ready to launch, but I just didn't have the kindling or the match. It wasn't the right timing for the match to be lit. And I still feel like I'm sitting in that.
Mhm.
And the frustration, the stagnation,
Yes.
the heaviness that can come with that,
Yes.
it it's a lot to hold. And it's a lot, and you kind of think, I think human nature is like, okay, just keep moving forward, do something different, try to light it this way, try to light it that way. And I think what I realize is like, I've over micromanaged a lot in my life. And sometimes that really pays off because I'm not stupid and we can micromanage our way in and out of anything.
Yeah.
But the greatness has never come from the micromanaging of the timing.
Yeah.
And to constantly have to remind yourself to keep showing up as is. And like you say, trust the bigger picture that we cannot see.
Yeah.
It can be demoralizing at
Yeah.
times, you know?
Right. And I think we need to own that because, the whole old love and light, I'm just trusting,
Mm.
we're not always in that space, and sometimes it just does feel like a slog. It just does feel like you're stuck. How do I get out of this? And I think when we feel that we've sort of done whatever we can do right now, the thing that's left for us is this sense of surrender. Let me just drop deeper in. Can I let go of some of these feelings of being stuck, of being overwhelmed, of feeling demoralized? Like even that, can I be demoralized and have a sense of acceptance about it? Um, I think I think also so a mantra that I rely on quite a bit is one from Abraham Hicks. And I learned this years ago, and it's very simple. Everyone has probably heard it. It's one of, her most famous ones, and it's everything is always working out for me.
Mm.
And I lean heavily on that, particularly I mean, look, I guess the energy that I've been in the last sort of 2 months has been very different to the feeling of stuck. It's almost like everything's happening so fast. And that's also quite,
Yeah.
destabilizing. And you feel like you don't have control and you're making decisions and you don't know if they're, good decisions or bad decisions or so many decisions that you can't make any more decisions. And so in order to ground myself when I'm feeling overwhelmed or, I don't really know which way to turn, I like to have this reminder, everything is always working out for me. Everything is always working out for me, no matter what is happening. And I think for me, that helps me let go of the things that I can't control and reminds me that there's a bigger picture, there's a picture and we can't see the bigger picture from our vantage point. But if we sit in this space of everything is always working out for me, it's like, okay, it makes it a little bit easier to be with whatever you're in right now because it's not going to stay that way forever, even though it sometimes feels like it's going to stay that way forever. It's not. It's going to shift. It's going to change. It's going to, and everything is an opportunity to grow, to strengthen, to practice something. And, when I look back at the times where I have felt the most stuck or the most lost or the most afraid, I feel really proud when I look back on those times
Mm.
of the tenacity and the fact that I survived that. And you know what I mean? And
Mm.
good times come and hard times come and they'll come again. It's just the nature of life. And it's particularly the nature of life if you're someone who's very growth orientated,
Mm.
and you and I are very growth orientated. That's what gives us a sense of purpose and so we do seek challenge on some level because that is what helps you grow and develop and ultimately move forward. Um, yeah.
Was it circumstantial? Like, so if we think about divine timing in those two experiences of the divine timing of things not maybe moving forward and not happening, and the stuckness that we can perhaps sometimes feel, or the resistance to that we can feel there. And
Yes.
then you're in this expression of divine timing that is all about flux and moving forward and change and expanding into perhaps what you had hoped for a really long time, which is a
Yeah.
whole conversation in itself. That's scary, like to do that. Everyone wants that, but then when that actually happens, it's actually really scary.
Mm.
But when we think about those two expressions of divine timing for you in this current phase, what was the tipping point that took you from nothing's really happening to, oh, now everything is happening? Was it circumstantial? Was it energetic? Was it personal evolving? What was it this time?
I think it was both circumstantial and energetic, and the energetics shifted when the circumstances shifted. So I had a really big thing that I've been dealing with over the last couple of years, which I won't talk too much about because it involves
Mm.
other people. I know you know what it is. But a very big situation that took a lot of my time and energy, um, and I think there was a lot that, I also think if things had shifted, now that I haven't really reflected too much on this, but um, I think sometimes we can be put in a bit of a holding pattern because if we weren't, it actually might tip us over in terms of what we can handle. I was already handling quite a bit. And so I think looking back on it,
Mhm.
some of the things that I was hoping for and wanting, probably, if it had happened, I would have been
Oh my
to
God, so
what happened to
can we
me in a
please?
mental institution. Oh,
Yes. I mean, well, I mean, maybe,
sorry, that was probably offensive.
but no, but it's so true though. I think it's such an important aspect of divine timing. What is not happening for you is happening for you
Yes.
because, right. For example, in my situation, me, it's to do with business and like the things that I want to launch and put out there and to have happen. It's like I've created so much. But for whatever frustrating reason, the kindling hasn't pushed that rocket into the sky.
Yeah.
And that's such a beautiful reminder for me right now. It's because there is like, maybe I'm not in energetic alignment to that yet.
Yeah.
Or the
Yeah.
people that are receiving it are not an energetic alignment to that yet. It's not required now. Or
Yeah.
you had to create that in order to learn how to create that so you can create something else. And it was never that thing.
Yes.
And I think about this often with relationships, like in myself, in terms of romantic relationships. And I definitely see it playing out with friends because it's a lot easier to psychoanalyze and energetically analyze someone else than it is yourself, because you don't have all those emotional layers. But I see it with friends of mine. It's like, oh, this relationship didn't work out, or I thought that this one had legs or whatever. And I'm like, I don't think that worked out because as much as you want it, I don't think you're ready for that.
Yes. Yes.
Or you're choosing something that is actually not on your alignment level, whether it's not a match to your values or your hopes, your dreams, and you're compensating and you're accepting less or whatever it is. And then I look at other people, partners in my life, and I look, oh, I can see why we weren't together then. They weren't ready.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, we don't know the bullets that we've dodged. I
Yeah.
think that's the other thing. So that again, to me, comes back to this idea of just trusting that
Mm.
if something didn't come into your life, well, maybe that's actually a good thing. You know, everything is always working out for me.
Yes.
Just why not? Why not take that view? Regardless of what's happening in our lives, we always have a choice about the meaning that we attach to it. That's always the choice that we have. And, the attitude that you bring, we know determines whether you feel victimized or whether you feel empowered. Um, it comes down again to what can you control and what can you not control. And there is so much that we can't control.
Mm.
And when you try to control things that are not in your control, it is just a recipe for stress, anxiety, overwhelm. So
And wasted energy too.
totally wasted energy.
Like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah. And it can be a bitter pill to swallow, but it's the smart way to approach life. You know, what can you control? Well, you can control yourself. that's really it. The attitude that you bring, your reactions, your responses, and even those, we say we can control those, but that's a
Yeah.
practice to learn how to, how to manage your thoughts, how to process your emotions, all of that. They're skills that we're learning, but they're the skills that are so important for us to cultivate because that's where our power lies
Mm.
in our responses.
Yeah, and that's why you do the work that you do, and that's why I do the work that I do, because that ultimately, I think that's at a basic level, that's all we're teaching and holding people
100%.
in. That
Yes.
that meeting of yourself in the moments of tension,
Yes.
in the moments of resistance, in the moments of fear,
Yes.
and obviously in the moments of repeated patterns, which you work on a lot with people in terms of the hypnosis and using that as a tool to reprogram that pattern-driven subconscious.
Yes.
And so when you hold yourself in that, but were you in that? Okay, let me take you back. So before the flux started,
Mm.
like how were you feeling a few months ago? I mean, I know we were both just tired because it was at the end of the year and it was the end of a
Yes.
logging year.
Um, Tired,
Mm,
you know. Like I said, I had had a big situation that I was dealing with for a long time, and all the emotions that come with that. And, there's a sense of, will this ever end?
mm,
Although on one level, yes, it will. The feeling can be, I'm sick of being in this same, sort of pattern. Um, so, but again, there's always a lesson to be learned. There's always value if we look for it. There are always nuggets. And I think also, particularly in the kind of work that we do, I know that every time I have gone through something difficult in my own life, it has made me a better practitioner because the
mm.
level of empathy that I have, the level of understanding that I have, it grows, and any time that you yourself have had to dive into the shadows, um, you learn how to hold space for other people who are doing the same. And regardless of what people sort of present on the outside, and we're all going about our business doing our stuff, but pretty much everyone is dealing with something. And it's just a reminder that, we're all human. We are all going through stuff on one level or another. And sometimes it's really intense and sometimes it's less so. But that's really the business of being human. So I think to a large degree also we can normalize this,
Yeah.
life is messy, life is uncertain. Um, we're all doing our best to get through it and to create something meaningful, to feel good. These are the basic human um, desires and urges that we have.
On a social commentary, controversial opinion that
Yep.
I'm unafraid to share because I wholeheartedly believe in it. I think when we had the collective uncertainty of COVID, we were all thrust into a whirlpool of existential crisis together and collectively. And I saw very quickly what rose from that is a lot of people trying to find purpose and light and empowerment through helping others, often in a lot of the ways that we do.
Mm-hmm.
In a sense, and in a respectful sense, jumping onto that bandwagon, thinking that if I have the answers, if I know if I can help other people through it, then I must be okay.
Mm.
And so we saw this rise, like how many people became life coaches and whatever during that time. Okay. Nothing wrong with that. But I think now what we're seeing as we shift out of that 5 years on, and we're shifting globally, energetically, or universally, that a lot of the people that jumped onto that are now finding that that perhaps isn't their authentic purpose and they are branching out into other areas of their personalities and their gifts that have nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
And the reason I mention this is not a judgment call. I think it's just a process.
Yes.
And it was a big influx collectively of that. But why I bring it up is because many people that do this work, and I've said this times before, but many people that do any type of energetic, deep work have really deep currents in their life that underpin it of, like you say, shadow, pain, unwanted transformation. Like I've said it so many times publicly, I didn't even want this life. I
Mhm.
didn't want it. And prior to even knowing about this life that exists for me, I was constantly asking the question, like, I just want to be normal. I just want to be like, I just want it to be easy. Like, why do I find it so hard to get over a breakup? Why do I find it? And like, that's the kind of questions that I had even before I knew any type of energetics or channeling work existed.
Yeah.
And I think that's the point because the people that do this work authentically go through a lot. And so
Yeah.
I had a client, and I mentioned this on socials quite a while ago. He said, like, I look at you guys and you're living your purpose, and I'm like, don't be fooled. And I hate it that I would think that you were fooled by us, that it's any type of easy or bliss.
Mm.
Because to be able to hold someone in their depths, you have to know the depths.
Right, exactly. That's exactly true. And I think also, that's the reason why it's easy to get into this work, but it's hard to stay in it. Like you
Yeah.
said, it can look from the outside like, oh, I'm helping people and I'm talking about energy and spirit and, you know, purpose and things that are interesting and we love. But the actual work of it is difficult.
Mm,
And, you know, for us, our personal growth is so tied to our professional skills. There's, you know, not that there's no barrier or boundary to it, but really, the more work I do on myself, the better I am as a practitioner. And I think that's the difference that, energetically, when you work with someone, they will feel whether you are walking your talk or
mm,
not. It's really easy to learn the theory and to speak the theory and to have all the right, words. But ultimately, you know, healing is a vibration and a good healer sets up the vibration of healing and the client can, match that. If you don't understand um, I guess, the energetic process that goes into transformation, you can't show someone else how to do that. They won't feel that energy from you. So I think it's, and you can feel that when you work with someone and the people I work with, there needs to be a resonance there. It goes far beyond, I don't care what people's qualifications are. Like, I don't actually give a shit how many diplomas and degrees and whatever they've got. That's
agree.
not interest to me. It's, have you crawled through the mud and made it out the other side? Show me who you are. Let me feel your energy. And that's how I work with people. Um,
And when we
and
say show me who you are, it's not the nitty-gritty details. Like you don't need to know the specifics of what potentially you're going through or what potentially I'm going through, but the themes of change, transformation, questioning everything,
yes.
questioning everything is a big one. Like, what am I doing? Like these existential crises we're going through, but you don't need to know it's to do with A, B, and C and D. But like you
Yes,
say, it's the vibration of the process.
yes. I'm quite a private person. I
Mm.
don't, you know, social media and I are not what I would call like a, match made in heaven.
You're not besties. We'll give you
And
that.
not. And I don't feel comfortable, blurting the details of my life out. And I don't think anyone is entitled to that, and I
Yeah.
don't expect that from anyone else. But I certainly share a lot more when I'm one-on-one with my clients because we have that connection, when it feels appropriate. But yeah, and I think also it's not about the therapist and the
Mm.
details of what I've been through. That's really irrelevant. It's about the space that you hold and it just all gets integrated. Everything that you've been through, like you say, regardless of the details, but the experience of it is integrated. And so then the way that you can show up for someone is different.
And the divine timing of all of that. I don't know if you find this, but like whenever I'm going through something, I will go through it quite intensely and potently. And then I'll be flooded with clients that are
Yeah.
going through a similar theme of things. So I'll give
Yes.
you an example, right? So when I first started this work full time, I was birthing a part of me, an identity, a life that I had been cultivating and growing for a really long time. I kid you not, within like the first 6 months, I can't tell you how many clients got pregnant. Like they couldn't get pregnant. They're like, I was just like, I'm just getting everyone pregnant. I'm not getting myself pregnant. But
Wow.
it's because I just birthed something.
Yes, yes.
And so I do you like you obviously find that too.
Yeah,
Like it's so
100%. Yeah, I
fascinating.
find it hilarious. Yeah, I almost like just can't believe it that you just get a run of clients who've got
Yeah.
the same sort of issues.
Yeah.
Yes.
Divine timing. Divine
Yeah.
timing. So part of like trusting the process of the divine timing is also like I know that I'm going through this for a reason. And the
Yeah.
reason is bigger than me, but I've surrendered to that. That's a choice of doing this kind of work authentically. That
Yes.
I might have to go through stuff just so I can deeply hold other people in it. And that's totally okay with me. It's not
Yeah.
pleasant, but it's totally okay with me.
Yeah. And I think the thing is too, sometimes I've lamented also that, that I'm sensitive and that I'm a deep thinker and I feel a lot and I have gone through a lot and I'm kind of a shadow worker in a lot of ways. But then I also know that I wasn't built for a surface level
Yeah.
shallow existence. So sometimes I'm like, oh, why couldn't I do something that's just, lighter yeah, but it's just I know that I wouldn't be satisfied with that.
Mm.
And I think every path you choose in life has its pros and its cons. It has its beautiful aspects and it has its difficult aspects. And so I think you just choose your heart.
Yeah, I love that. Choose your heart. Well, let's like before we wrap up this discussion on divine timing, talk to me about the flux. I mean, we've all been in the flux of
Yeah,
divine timing where things are
yeah,
are
yeah,
flowing, and that is, to be honest, where I lose myself. And I feel like sometimes, am I being punished because I did not handle that correctly? But it's time to reset and go next time. Like I've spent a lot of time considering next time I'm in flux in my life,
yeah,
this is actually how I'm going to manage it.
yes, yes,
So talk us through staying grounded through that flux in divine time.
yes. Okay, so um, self-care is just a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I will lose my shit if I don't get enough sleep.
Yeah.
If I don't get enough sleep, I'm cranky. I'm just, I eat badly. I won't exercise. The wheels fall off if I'm
Yeah.
not sleeping properly. So I really, need to make sure that I'm disciplined in terms of not, spending too much time on screens, not having too much caffeine, just, um, making sure I get what for me is enough sleep. Um, I also am a big list maker.
Yeah.
I can't hold too much in my head because then I get stressed. So I've got it right here actually. It's actually by my side. I use Danielle Port's heart-centered planner. I love it. And I write everything down. And for me, that helps me sleep, by the way, because I'm not like constantly churning with the overthinking of all the things I have to do. So I just write it all down. In the morning, I wake up, I look at my list, and it helps me to, get shit done when I'm busy. What else do I do? Oh, I'm realistic as well. Like, don't be too hard on yourself. Like if you're going through a lot, you're really busy, you've got a lot going on, you know, don't take on extra. Like, don't do more than you need to do. Um, schedule
You're
in your
you're really good with that. You're good with your boundaries, your personal boundaries with that. That's something I've really learned from you.
Yeah, because I just know that I won't function well if I don't have that. Like I need space, I need sleep, I need downtime.
Mm.
And, I do that for myself and I do it for my kids and I do it for my
Mm.
clients and my friends. And because I just can show up as a better person
Mm.
when, I've got what I need. And it took me a long time to get that message. And it's also just, being comfortable with declining an invitation or, you know, rescheduling a client if I need to, things that, you know, a part of you might worry, oh, do they think badly of me or am I letting someone down? But ultimately, at the end of the day, you do have to be realistic about how much you can actually fit in.
Mm.
So I guess over the years, I've gotten better at being able to do that and actually feel okay about it. And I really respect other people that can do that as well. Just having that level of honesty that, hey, I can't really manage that right now. Can we put it off a little bit? And I think people appreciate that
Yeah.
as well. So yeah, just being realistic about what you can and can't do. And I also sometimes will schedule in, watching TV for an evening because
Yeah.
that's what I can manage. So,
Yeah.
don't it's okay, like, to just have some veg out time.
Do you know
You
what
got
really
to
helped me with that was understanding my human design as well? Like,
okay.
because once Laura described to me or explained to me that as a projector, I actually need like intense periods of work and then I need a nap. I always used to think I was so lazy because I tell you what, I can sleep anywhere like that. Like I'm so good like that.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's a skill. That is a dead set
you know,
skill.
I actually have fallen asleep in the Sistine Chapel just because I needed a nap. It's terrible. Like I'm bad. Like I'm no, I'm good. I'm really good at it. I'm sure God didn't mind. But and she really taught me that. She's like, it's like you need that. And
Yeah.
embracing that is so liberating.
Yes, 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 100%. And coming along with that is just being kind to yourself.
Mm.
Um, the way that you talk to yourself in your own mind, don't beat yourself up. Just understand that right now is a busy time and you're going through a lot and you're managing things as best you can. And if you forget something or you stuff up somehow, okay, don't worry about it. Just fix it as best you can and move on. Often we make things so much harder for ourselves with all the
Yeah,
negative self.
always. Yeah. How do you keep your ego out of it when the divine timing is in flux in terms of I've desired this, I've worked for this, I set this up? Because most people will be like, you know what? Okay, phrases I hate. I manifested my dream job. I manifested my man. Shut up. Like it's just divine. Like it's just
Yeah,
you've aligned with it in divine timing.
yeah,
Amazing.
totally,
But
totally.
how do you keep your ego out of it?
You know what? I feel like I've been humbled by life so many times. Like I just get slammed. Whenever I get too big for my boots, life will
Yeah.
slam me. It's just happened so many times that I just try to be humble, and very grateful. I'm so grateful for
Yes,
what I have.
gratitude is so grounding.
Hugely, hugely. I don't take anything for granted.
Mm.
So I try to stay in that space. But I think it's a balance. It's also like, be proud of yourself too when
Yeah.
you recognize that, hey, I did well on this thing, or I have grown, So you can also have a healthy sense of ego, a healthy sense of pride, but then also just realizing, hey, you're still a tiny, tiny, weeny little fish that, you know, relies on a whole lot of other divine intervention for anything to happen, anything at all.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That keeps you in check. I'm sure you won't mind sharing one of the things that you are experiencing an expansion in an abundant flow in your new space that you
Oh,
get
my
to
new
work
space. I
from.
love this space. Actually, do we have time for me to talk about how I got this space?
Of course.
Um, I it was not easy to find the right space, and I moved house as well, and all my focus was on moving house, and then I suddenly realized, oh my goodness, I do not have anywhere to work from because I used to work from home,
Mm.
and in my new house I can't do that. So I I looked at so many spaces, and there was a huge amount of confusion that was going on in my mind. I had some things that I wanted, but I also had this nagging voice, are you being unrealistic? You know, maybe you just have to take what you can get. And I realized that I was just too much in my head. So I thought, okay, I'm driving myself nuts. I'm going to focus on my intuition. And when I am in the space, what's going on inside of me? How do I feel when I'm in that space? And there were two places that looked really good on paper in terms of the location, in terms of the price, but when I was in there, I got really clear signs of no, this feeling inside that really I wanted to get out of those spaces, that part of me just wanted to run out. And I was like, oh God, okay. So I clearly got to know that my head is going, but you need somewhere, and this is in your price range, it's in your location, and what if you don't? And so it really took quite a lot of trust to actually say
Okay.
no.
Are you listening to this in between the lines carefully? Think of a situation of something that you want desperately right now, and
Right.
think about how we completely relinquish our divine timing trust and micromanage it and take something that is not for us, but it presents as a possibility. And
Yes.
people will call this, oh, the universe is testing you. It's like throwing something in your path that looks perfect. It's not a test. It's that on some level you've attracted that because it ticks some of your boxes. But
Yeah.
only you can decide within your own divine knowledge and wisdom whether it is a complete yes or a
Mm.
compromise no.
Yeah.
So just reflect on your, like, pause this and reflect on that in terms of something that you want right now. Sorry,
Exactly.
keep going. And
And
unpause.
PS,
Oh, yeah.
PS, there's plenty of times that I've taken the compromised.
Oh my gosh. Hello.
So this is a
Guys, we always get it
one thing.
right. Ignore
Yeah.
everything we said before. We always get it right. We don't.
But this was a situation where, as soon as I came into this place,
Mm.
and also this isn't a perfect space, by the way. There's things that I could list that I wish were different. So it's not like this ticked every box. It didn't tick every box, but I came into this building, I came into this room, and I got that spark of excitement. And I was just like, hell yeah, I can feel it. I can feel in my bones that this is good for me. So I went with that. And again, I had the head that, it wasn't a perfect process. There were some times where I thought, oh, has this been derailed when I'm, talking to the real estate agent about certain things? And, so it wasn't perfect, but it feels good and it still feels good. So yeah, that for me was, uh, you know, I guess probably one of the most obvious times where I've actually listened to my intuition, where I've actually deliberately gone, you know what? I'm following what my body tells me, and my head is going to take a bit of a back seat.
I literally had a discussion with a friend of mine on the weekend. Like, when you know, you know.
Yeah,
And knowing, I love that you brought that up, isn't about perfection.
yeah,
Knowing is just knowing.
yeah.
Like, my friend was commenting on someone, it's hard to divulge without divulging, but someone I'm involved with, and they said they were picking on something about him. And I was like, can you relax? I know.
Mhm.
I know. And yeah, maybe that doesn't exude the qualities that you would have imagined for me or desire for me. But when you know, you know. And then also when you know, it makes trusting divine timing so much easier
Exactly.
because the timing doesn't matter
Yes.
because you know. And so many times I've been in my life where I've been like, I know this certain thing's going to unfold. I know this is for me, but the timing is absolutely not up to me.
Right.
So I'm really just pep talking myself right now, let alone you guys. Um, but like the fact to me, what I'm hearing is like you were saying no to these other places because you were trusting.
Yeah.
And in divine timing, it presented at the right time, but often a lot quicker because you weren't having that resistance to, I need it now,
Yeah.
and giving into those like thought processes.
Yeah, it was in the nick of time, I have to say. It was
Yeah, there you
like,
go. Okay.
he's on Friday. My client came in on Monday. I already had clients booking. I'm like, I don't know where I'm going to see these people. So it was like,
Wow. So where are you? Where can we
it's
come
not
visit
point.
you? Yeah,
Not
so
point.
so close to the city.
It's a really cool area. It's a great space. It's a really lovely Art Deco building that's been, done beautifully. It's nice and quiet and peaceful. It's fabulous. Yeah.
So obviously you can see Alana in person in Potts Point, but also online, which where a lot of your clients see you anyway.
Yes, I probably do 50-50 Zoom and in person, but even with my Zoom calls, I do them here. So this is
Yeah.
also just for me and my space and where I can work. Um, yeah, so
Well,
it's
thank you for cracking open that conversation about divine timing. And I'm like crazy that that's the card that came out. We had another thought of where this conversation might go, and it didn't go there at all.
yeah,
But we trust the divine timing of that it's landing in your ears right when you need to perhaps also hear this.
absolutely.
As always, you look at those show notes to see where you can book in with Alana, and please rate, follow, share this podcast episode with anyone that you feel might benefit from it. But until next time, enjoy your new space.
Much for having me.